It's the worst news possible, people. Gabriel is out for the season. I think we knew that it was looking really touch and go for Real Madrid, and that was putting it mildly. But out for the season, that is a bigger update than I thought we were going to get. And we're here to discuss it live on the Goonerverse. The reason why I wanted to do this as a live stream was to get all your thoughts, because I want to ask the question that you can see on the thumbnail. Is it just luck? I've never done physiotherapy. I've never studied it for more than a day. I've never been a professional athlete to understand what they're going through in their bodies and the way that the professional athletes do and the physios do. I can't ever, claim to have that kind of knowledge or insight. And quite frankly, if none of us are in that field, then we can't either. What we can do is look at data. What we can do is try and understand where there's similar trends and at least past opinion while recognizing that we don't know everything. But I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love all your opinions. Let me know in the comment section below. Why is this happening? 3 surgeries Arsenal have had on hamstrings this season: Bukayo Saka, Kai Havertz, and Gabi Jesus. And actually, we see how quickly Bukayo Saka's returned. We can almost consider ourselves, thankful that he's kind of back and available to play, even, for part of this season and clearly in one of our biggest games. This is not even about Real Madrid anymore. Of course, we will discuss that and the impact of the tie a little bit if you guys want to. But the big thing that's really on my mind is, why does this keep happening? How are we in this position where there are constant injuries of the same kind, muscular, that have often felt like, the Gabriel Magalhaes, he's just running, isn't he? Jesus is getting back to defend. Saka's trying to whip in across. They don't look like incidences that you're watching live and think that that should lead to such serious injury, but it has on a few occasions. We've been incredibly unfortunate, and we need to talk about it on this live. And like I said, unfortunate, but it's not just luck. Dave Jordan asks, bad luck, or were they mismanaged last season when we had no injuries? It swings both ways. Too many hamstrings going, says Zach. I don't think it's luck at all. Far too coincidental. Damon's even asking, would you play 3 at the back against Madrid in the first leg? I wouldn't personally. Max Payne. Everyone shout out Max and his amazing work on this channel and, of course, the Goonerverse too. And yes, we will talk about Jurriën Timber. It is just a knock and he should be fine. But, how fine is fine? Fine enough to start against Everton? We'll see. So let's go through everything you need to know. Let me just share my screen really, really quickly, because we're going to want to go through all this properly. And we start with, here we go. So Arsenal posted this. Medical update, Gabriel Magalhaes. When there's less words, means there's more bad news. That's how I tend to, that's just a feeling. When I saw that post, I went, oh, this looks ominous. So you click on it, and here we are. Injury update, Gabriel Magalhaes. Further to being substituted during our match against Fulham on Tuesday, we can confirm that Gabriel Magalhaes has sustained a hamstring injury which requires surgery. Unbelievable. Gabi will undergo a surgical repair procedure to his hamstring in the coming days and immediately begin his recovery and rehabilitation program with the aim to be ready for the start of next season. Everyone at the club will be fully focused on supporting Gabi to ensure he's back to full fitness as soon as possible, with the aim to be ready for the start of next season. This is extraordinary, people. I thought they were going to say 3-4 weeks out he's going to miss Real Madrid. I didn't think this was surgery requiring. I didn't think this was going to be something like Saka and Havertz. When Saka went down, it felt quite bad. I don't know why. Maybe that's just the kind of the stress we were feeling about losing him. With Gabriel, maybe I just wanted to believe that it didn't look so bad because we had Real Madrid to play, and well, maybe he'll be all right. He came off against Liverpool, he was fighting against Newcastle, but this is as bad as it gets. With the aim of being, so we're talking August it starts, right? So we're talking May, June, July. August would be 3 to 4 months we're looking at. Oh, yeah. It's a long time. Just seeing the different knock. Alex, Jimmy, that clip is super important in my opinion. So is this the clip that you shared on Twitter? Because I have actually bookmarked that to talk about this in a little bit. This is something I definitely want to talk about. Alex posted on his X account something that Mikel Arteta had to say around injuries and the lack of training. So we'll go through that in a sec. But yes, good to see you in the comments, my friend. These players have been flogged, James, says Stephen. We've got a super chat from Mafia, says Mikel overplays players and overworks them. We'll discuss this in a bit of detail as well. Any news on White? Not that I can see at the time of recording. By the way, my internet, I think, is dipping in and out, but it's just about holding the stream. So let me know if there's any problems, and hopefully it's okay. Hopefully I'm coming through clearly enough. Dave makes a good point. Havertz, Gabriel, Saka all happened after having a period of rest. Okay, quite a few things to talk about, and I've got some bookmark tweets and thoughts that will kind of help me. Go through this in a particular order. So in terms of whether there's like blame, right? Whether there's kind of like blame for one particular person. Jack Davenport, who, he's been on with me on AFTV, big on TikTok, go follow him on TikTok as well. He said this, the article written when Arsenal appointed new head of sports medicine last season. This was an article by The Athletic, Crystal Palace's head of sports medicine, Zafar Iqbal, to join Arsenal. Now, this was a comment that was left in the comment section. Well, if Palace's injury list is anything to go by, Arsenal are headed for a number of hamstring and groin injuries. That was a comment put in an article. In fact, let me read you. Do you know what I'd love to do, actually? I'd love to show you the exact article. So if you bear with me 1 second. By the way, that's not me saying blame him, his fault. None of this is going to be that when it comes to Mikel Arteta, when it comes to the new head of sports. But it's just interesting that a Palace fan felt that they were having those kind of level of injuries. Let me get this in front of me, because I want to be able to show you the exact article. Right, here it is. I know it wants me to log in. Of course it does. Bear with me 1 second. Because there's never one person to blame, right? It's all this person's fault, all that person's fault. But I'm just seeing the bits of information, things that people are putting out there online. Right, let's get rid of that. Let's share this tab instead. Cool. So this was the article. Blah blah. And look, it's just a piece by David Ornstein, just letting us know in December, the last day of December in 2023, that he was leaving to join Arsenal. And there's some a bit of news around him. But it was in the comment section here. This was the comment, and I'll make this bigger so you can actually see it. Okay, let's boom. You see this? Well, if Palace's injury list is anything to go by, Arsenal headed for another hamstring or groin injuries. The head of sports medicine should be able to advise on ways to prevent injuries as well as advise the truth. Clearly, that isn't the case of Palace right now. Now, look, that I'm only sharing this because it was an interesting observation that Jack pointed out. And I think, that the track record, for Palace fans can complain about that. And then, Arsenal have had a lot of hamstring injuries. I mean, that doesn't always look great. You kind of wonder why there's such a big sort of change from last season. And people will look at things like the medical department not doing their job, Mikel Arteta overplaying players, because Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka and Gabriel were probably three of the most used under Mikel Arteta. Now, with Havertz, we only saw it over a year and a half, but he did use them a lot, whether it be in midfield, whether it be up front. He worked incredibly hard. We all remember the footage of him basically collapsing on the pitch after Wolves, where he just run his absolute heart out when we were down to 10 men. He looked shattered, and you felt like when he got the injury, that doesn't feel like that much of a coincidence. Bukayo Saka, I've long said that he's playing far too much football, that we need to rotate his minutes more, that we put too much of a burden on him in games. He took every corner. He took set pieces. He was tracking runners at fullback. He was dropping into a back six. We were going long in goal kicks to him. So are we putting too much, not just in terms of minutes, but actual physical demands on Bukayo Saka? And actually, with some of his output, maybe we should have managed not just his minutes, but actually his responsibilities in game a little bit more. And then, of course, you get little things like that trend, right? You get little things like... oh, sorry, doorbell ringing. Ignore that. You get little things like, these kind of headlines doing the rounds with comments, and you go, okay, that's interesting. Palace fans felt that or whatever. But anyway, I don't think you can go, this guy's come in, or Mikel Arteta's, managed these minutes in a certain way and go, that's definitely all it is. Because a big part of it will be luck as well. A big part of all this will be Arsenal have simply been really, really unlucky. But another big part, if you include... doorbell still ringing. Apologies. Another big part of it, if you're talking about, do they not know I'm live? Can you hear that? Let me know in the comment section. Can you hear the doorbell ringing? It's not mine. It's actually the apartment above, but you can hear it. You guys hear that? No? Anyway, back to it. You can talk about medical staff. You can talk about Arteta's management. You can talk about luck. But a big one is this. And I think this is what, and I'll share it very briefly. Share this tab instead. I think this is, let me pause the video. Bam. So this is what Alex was alluding to in the comment above. Or yeah, anyway, a bit earlier. Probably a good day to bring this out. Mikel explains a part of this picture. Rest up, Gabi. Now, what? Yeah, people saying they could hear the doorbell. Apologies. What? Because I can't play the full clip because copyright and all that. But what Mikel Arteta basically goes on to say when he was asked about whether training's been impacted and stuff because of the amount of football being played, he essentially goes on to say that we're barely training. Like, forget whether it's effective training, we're barely training. And he goes on to say that when you're not training, I think he says the muscles and the tendons to play the amount of football they need to play and do the things they're meant to do. So you're going from game to game to game to game. And it takes about 72 hours for a tendon to fully repair, he says. But they're not getting that time before they're back playing another game. So training, he says, isn't just crucial for, what they do on the pitch, but it's off the pitch. It's the recovery and all those things as well. And I think this is a really important quote, and I can't believe I haven't seen it till now, and I'm really glad Alex has shared it. Essentially, Arteta's saying, and has been this has been complained by Rodri, this has been a complaint by Jurgen Klopp, there's been a complaint by Gundogan. All these people have come out and said in the football world, the amount of football in the schedule it's just not sustainable. We're seeing more and more injuries because of it. The quality of the game is therefore going down. Therefore, managers are probably adjusting their tactics slightly. We never really want to see that. We want to see managers doing what they think is right all the time and full throttle football. But you can't really get that because there's so much management of a 90-minute game with the view of the bigger picture in mind too. And I think we need to remember this. Footballers are still playing so much football. They can be paid all the money they want, right? We can talk about that all the time, but it doesn't change how their bodies work and the amount of football they're playing. And we do need to keep that in mind. So you kind of got a few angles I've thrown out there here, and we'll go into kind of my opinion on them all, which ones I think kind of hold the most weight. But you've got, are the medical teams simply not good enough? Has Mikel Arteta played them too much? Is it just simply bad luck? And is the amount of football playing a huge part too? Other things that people have talked about that I just want to mention. Ben Mattinson was saying 3 hamstring tears this season is no coincidence. This is what happens when you, 1, don't have sufficient depth, and 2, don't rotate enough over years. I think this is a big part. I don't think it's just a case of, oh, I could stop playing. I don't think it's just about the amount of football they've played necessarily in one season, or, Dave, for example, put in a comment saying, these injuries have come after a period of rest. Sometimes it's momentum and regular playing that allows you not to get those injuries. Sometimes it's when you kind of are a bit stop-start that it can be a bit worse. But the point is, Havertz last season, Bukayo Saka over 2-3 seasons, Gabriel since he arrived, those that have played a really serious amount of football. Another conversation we can go on to, but this, Halal was making the point here. Erdegaard was out for 2 months, White 3 months, Jesus 5, Saka 3, Havertz 4, Gabriel 2. Finishing second in the Premier League and getting to the quarterfinals of the Champions League under these circumstances is honestly practically a miracle. This was shared by AFC Met, but it was this by Sam Dean. Arsenal on hamstring injuries. What's going on? It's a problem across the league, not just at Arsenal. Experts believe there are various factors: cumulative load, tactical changes, scheduling issues, and more. This is a picture shared by Rory Talks Football of the amount of Arsenal players who've been picking up injuries throughout the season. And then this from John McKenzie, which he shared 2 days ago. And what it shows is, if I can I make this a bit bigger? Yeah, cool. I liked it. There we go. And let's do that. Cool. So, trying to see who they credited. But anyway, increasing intensity, how the physical output of Premier League players has increased since 2018-19. So we got peak sprint velocity. and the sort of 99th percentile, and then you've got number of high intensity actions, and then you've basically got them across the Premier League here. And it basically shows you the increase. And at 24-25, we're supposedly at the highest intensity we've seen in the Premier League for a long, long time. So there's so much data out there, and there's so many different opinions, and there's so many ways to look at it. If we talk about all the things, and we'll go through your comments and super chats in a second. If we take those 4 things and I pass my opinion on them, and the reality is, and I can come to a conclusion right now, it's all 4 of these things. Every single one of these things is a reason why we're having more injuries, why Arsenal are having more injuries, why across the Premier League, the product has felt. And I know Liverpool fans hate it when we say this because they think we're sort of diminishing them winning the title. Absolutely not. Liverpool have been brilliant. They've played it brilliantly, and they've been the best team in the league. But I felt that the quality of the Premier League product this season hasn't been as enjoyable. Now, maybe I've just got a little bit of fatigue because Arsenal kind of, failure in 2 title races this season. They've not been very good. I'm not going to pretend my Arsenal tinted glasses aren't playing a part in this. But I felt the product's not been quite as good. And I felt that we've had, player injuries play a part in that. So many teams can point to injuries and key players missing at points, even Liverpool, to a point where we've not got the best version of this Premier League we could and should have really had. So anyway, let's go back to the 4 points. What were they? Firstly, luck is the big question. Of course, luck is a part of it. If Gabriel just jogs that bit differently, maybe he doesn't get that hamstring injury and he's fine. And maybe he then doesn't get it for another 2 years. I mean, there's every chance that as much as it happened, it could easily have not happened in that moment. Havertz in training, doing drills. You imagine the data is looking at all this and telling you, are they able to train at this intensity, play at this intensity? Do they need rest? And the data will have given, Arsenal and their team some insight on what to do. So the hamstring injury could just have been bad luck. Sometimes you're walking down the road and your ankle just rolls. Now, things can happen. So I think there's no question there's a massive element of bad luck in all this for sure. Maybe not all of it, maybe not more than 50%, maybe not more than 25% if you're splitting all 4 equally. But it's definitely a big part that we've just simply been really unlucky, especially because the amount of key players it's happened to. When you look at those players, a lot of them have been depended on for really significant minutes. So luck was the first thing I mentioned. Now, I'm going to try and remember the other 4 points. I really wish I'd written them all down. Right, the medical team. Are they doing something wrong? The thing with this, it's the one I can comment on the least because I have no idea. I don't know what they're meant to be doing. I don't know how they're meant to be doing it. I don't know how much they advise on players playing. I don't know how much their opinion is taken into account. I don't know if they say to Mikel or to the Arsenal coaching staff, I'd go easy on him. I wouldn't have him do these drills. Best not. And they go, well, we'd rather risk it because we've got to get ready for Real Madrid or because we've got the North London Derby coming up. Or I don't know. I have no idea how the dynamic works between physio department, the medical team, the doctors, everyone who's looking after these players. I have no idea how their dynamic works with, what with the coaching, with the amount of football they're playing. And that's the other thing. How much time do they even get with these players? Because, as Arteta said, and I was sort of paraphrasing that clip that Alex shared, there's every chance that Mikel Arteta and maybe the medical team want more time with these players to look after them, but simply can't get it. Players, when they're not training and doing the bits they have to do, tactical prep, they're probably at home. Think how much they're traveling, and actually sometimes rest is the best thing. So there's all these things to consider. So luck, medical department, Arteta and his management of the squad. Alluded to earlier that Gabriel, Havertz and Saka are 3 of the most used in the last year and a half. I think pre-23-24, you could certainly say Saka and Gabriel played quite considerably some of the most minutes. Just find some evidence for that. Premier League minutes played. Because there's evidence in this. Most minutes played. And we'll go to filter. There you go. Let me share all this. So you can see it. Cool. Filter by club, Arsenal. Yeah, is that done? Right. And Gabriel's up there, which you expect to see. Where's Saka? Okay, it doesn't make the top 10, which you expect with the injury he had, but I was just wondering if he still made the top 10. Anyway, so Gabriel up there with Saliba and David Raya. Keep it at Arsenal, and we'll go to the season before that. Arsenal again. Gabriel up there with over 3,000 minutes, but Saliba's been okay. Declan Rice, more of a toe injury. But Gabriel up there, Saka up there, nearly 3,000 minutes. Don't know what this is proving, by the way. I just think it's interesting to look into it. 22-23 campaign. Gabriel's up there as well with 3,400 minutes. So he did play about 400 minutes less the season after. Bukayo Saka up there too. Let's go to the season before that when we were challenging for the Champions League football. Gabriel up there with 3,000 minutes. Bukayo Saka up there too. You know, it's not that surprising that these guys are playing such significant minutes and maybe have picked up injuries because of it. I just want to know where Kai Havertz ranks. To be fair, Kai Havertz last season at 2,600 isn't quite... Actually, yeah, I'd expect these guys to be above him, so I guess that kind of makes sense. So he's still up there in the top 8. I mean, Arteta's management of players and minutes is the kind of thing that a lot of people argue. They'll go, but Haaland's minutes, but Salah's minutes, and my argument has always been, do these guys put in the amount of work that Kai Havertz does, that Bukayo Saka does? And my opinion is no. If you watch Arsenal's defenders, and this is mainly Gabriel and Saliba have to do this, they cover vast amounts of space. We play, a lot of people like to joke that, we just sit back and Saliba and Gabriel get protected, but no, they do a lot of man-to-man defending, so there's a lot of real physical contact. They're regularly in the duels. There's a lot of jumps. There's a lot of and I know that's true of most centre-backs. What I'm saying is they're rarely just kind of settled in the penalty area defending their box. They often have to track players all over the pitch because there'll be man-to-man marking getting stretched all over the pitch, and they find themselves, Gabriel at left back, at left wing, sometimes pressing all the way up. The amount of sprints that Saliba and Gabriel put in on a regular basis, because of the man-to-man defending we often deploy when we're pressing, means that they're constantly straining themselves too. It's important to remember that. I wonder if for Arsenal going forward, it's not about managing the minutes, but it's about managing what they're asked to do tactically in games. Can Arsenal tweak? And it might mean the defensive are not quite as secure. It might mean that we're a little bit less imposing in terms of our tactics and defensively on the opposition. But can we be almost a touch lazier? Can we almost just dial things down? I mean, Lee Judge was saying on Forever Arsenal that Arteta was going mad at Gabriel Martinelli late in the game because he wasn't tracking back. When you look at how hard he worked in that game, how much he run, how good he was actually, you think, is that the kind of thing that Mikel Arteta could maybe calm it down on a little bit? Ben White, Tomiyasu, these are players that we know have had sort of longer term problems, and how well have their injuries always been managed? It took for Thomas Partey to be in, out before they eventually basically had him out a whole season, brought him back, and he's actually been fine. But these are good questions to ask people. We don't have to come here with conclusions. We don't have to come here and go, it's Arteta's fault. It's, the chief medical doctor, I'm going to call him, head doctor's fault. It's just because we're playing too much football. It could be all these things. That fourth one there that I was going to come on to was playing too much football. And guys, I don't know about you, I'm getting football fatigue. I mean, please let me not pretend that this isn't such a privilege to do what I do. I love doing what I do. It's amazing. Going live, talking to all you lot, watching football is an absolute pleasure. But there is a lot of it. It is starting to dilute the product a bit. You are going, once all this is done and the trophies are lifted, there's a Club World Cup we're meant to care about. There's been in the Nations League, the third tournament that we're meant to care about for the nations as well. If we're getting fatigued mentally a little, which I feel like I am, I'd love to know what you lot think in the comment section. Are you guys getting a little bit like sort of tired of football? Not tired of football, you get what I mean? A little bit like, man, there is a lot of it. If you start to feel that way, imagine how the players are feeling mentally and physically. All this stuff we need to think about. I've rambled on for a whole 24 minutes. Well done, me. Glass of water. And we're back in the game. Let's get your comments, super chats, and thoughts. I read this one earlier from Mafia says Mikel overplays players and overworks them. Nelly says, effing hell, is Calafiori able to cover? Doesn't look like it at the moment. Connor says, limited quality definitely fits. Should we do 5 in defense? I wouldn't go to the back 5. It was asked earlier. I wouldn't. Right. Let's go through your comments. Andy says Saliba plays left centre back for France. Timber White can't play centre back. Theoretically, one could play Tierney. One could play Tierney to just try to defend Vinny from cutting inside. There's a lot of changes, and you lose quality forward. I would go Timber White, Saliba, Lewis Skelly would be my back 4 for the games. What else have we got? Zach says, I think it's a mixture of all of what you've said there, really. I totally agree. I think it is a complete mixture. Arsenal News 7 said, will Kivior play? I think he will, but it could be White, Timber. I'd go with White and Timber. So one at right back, one at centre back with Saliba. But I think Kivior will get the start against Everton. Khalid's confidence says, we will still beat Madrid. That'd be brilliant. I really hope we do. But our chances just got, for me, smaller without Gabriel, and they weren't the biggest before. Joel says, agree, James. We are unlucky to have Arteta, and I'm not even kidding. So he is very much thinking more of it is on him. Beanie, who likes to have a go at me a lot. Arteta's never to blame, always blames someone or something else. I've just said that it could well be Arteta's fault, and given him quite a bit of criticism, but fair enough, Beanie. I won't stop you commenting on my videos. Brian says, this is the second in 3 seasons we've lost one of our centre-backs at the business end of the season. Poor rotation leads to injuries. Brian, I think you're on something massive here. I think this is where Arteta can take a lot of the heat and criticism, right? Why do we so rarely rotate in that area of the pitch? I do feel like rotation in general is a problem for Arteta. And it's not just how often he does it, but actually how much our levels drop when he does rotate. He said that this was going to be a really big summer, Mikel. And when he said that, he was kind of alluding to, well, he said it's not just about adding quality, but it's adding depth and quantity too. The reason I think Arsenal need to add about 5-6 players this summer, minimum, is because I think we're not just looking to add quality in, the striker, the left wing, and maybe 1 or 2 midfield positions. Then it needs to be like that kind of layer of 2 or 3 behind a lot of positions too. There's a lot of work to be done to address Arsenal having a squad that is good enough for both one game with your best 11, but also across a 38 league campaign to kind of be good enough to rotate and manage minutes more properly and actually let you go, you know what, we're playing. Let me ask this question, guys. I don't know who's 12th in the league. I have no idea. I haven't checked. If we play 12th in the league, does Saliba start? Yes. 100% he would start that game. But why? Like, why couldn't it be, with a fully fit squad, Timber, White, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly? And then the week after, it's White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. And the week after that, it's Timber, Saliba, Calafiori, Lewis Skelly. Like, why can we not, with the options we've got, with the amount of defenders we've got, and obviously now we're more, restricted what we can do. But why was there not a situation before where we could have rotated and just been a little bit more flexible in the way we use our players? It feels like Odegaard, Rice, and Partey will play every minute until one gets injured and Jorginho has to play. It just feels like that's how we do things with certain players. And it's definitely something Arteta can work on. I think that's a good comment there. We're going to round it off there, people. Be serious, James. Van Dijk doesn't get rotated versus Palace. It's not. The thing is, Tariq, there's always an example. For your example, I would say, well, look at City centre-backs. Not this season, where they've had injuries. Look in the previous seasons. They've always rotated their centre-backs. And Liverpool, Liverpool are going to win the title, and they've been brilliant. City are the team to look at when it comes to multiple titles, competing on multiple fronts, and doing it over years and years and years. So I think they're a better example, and they have rotated their centre-backs. I think it is something we should learn from. Max says, kind of wish we used Calafiori and centre back a few games in the season to get rest, to rest Gabi a bit. Exactly, Could easily have been done, in my opinion. Could easily have been done, but we never saw it. And I think that is something Arteta can certainly work on. Appreciate the thumbs up, and yeah, good to debate and to discuss this kind of stuff. And I know what you mean. I'm not calling for Gabriel to only play 25 games of the season, but I just wonder whether we could be a touch better. But again, all these other things come into play. Tomiyasu is part of it. I did mention Tomiyasu earlier, though. All right, everyone. At a million miles an hour, because I've had the busiest day of my life, right? So much stuff. Loads of content coming out. Look out for a video tomorrow around transfers on the main Goonerverse channel. Look out for all our updates on the Goonerverse too. But I just covered all that. Yeah, drop a like, everyone. It does help the channel a lot. Big thanks to Max as well. I do have a video coming out tomorrow, but yeah, lots happening. So yeah, I've been a bit rushed with this one, but I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Anyway, that's the latest on Gabriel, some people's insights, what we know, and my kind of instant on the spot analysis of the situation. I think it's a lot of different things, but ultimately when it comes to it, Arsenal have been unlucky this season. All right, everyone, catch you in a bit.